Back with another session of Network is My Net Worth. I am Rel Purnell here, and we got a special guest today, my guy A.B Wright, fellow military veteran. He's going to be joining me along with Jay Hall agent, and we're going to get this thing started. What up, AB? I see you up in here. Miss Tiff, hello, hello, hello. Let me add you up in here, AB. Then we're going to talk motivation. We're going to talk inspiration. We're going to talk leaving gems. We're going to talk leaving tips. All of the above.
What
What's
is
up, my
up?
guy?
What is up? How we doing?
Man, all is well.
Good,
Let's get
good.
Jay Hall agent up in here.
Making my way outside
Okay.
so I can sit on the patio where it's a little cool. Hopefully it's not windy out. So we'll find out in just a second. Actually, I need to grab my AirPods. I got them.
Jay Hall agent, what's up, my guy?
What's going on, my
What's up,
guy?
Dale?
What up, fam?
All is good, man. Just got in the house a few minutes ago. Got out the house kind of late. Had to do some stuff with the cars at the pickup, the 5 Series, and actually was trying to get my tune done for the M3.
Okay.
And we're running into some hiccups, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're dealing with cars.
Yeah.
So, but y'all definitely stay tuned for your auto enthusiasts and the little stuff I throw up on right here, keeping you guys tuned in. But other than that, man, life is good. Ralph, we talked yesterday, kind of give you an update on what took place here. And let me just say this, man. I woke up, I went to sleep very different, and I woke up a different man. And, things happen, and you try to take an account to love life and live life to the fullest anyway. And when things like that happen, man, when someone tragically lose their life in an instant, for something not even their fault, it puts you in a different perspective. Not to make this a somber start to the show, but it definitely made me rethink priorities and make sure those priorities were priorities, and then go from there. So that's kind of day I had.
Man, rough start. But we're about to give you the floor. So go ahead, Mr. A.B. Wright, introduce yourself. Let the folks know who you are, where you're from, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Okay. I am A.B. Wright. I am from Dayton, Ohio, born, but I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and lived in Georgia a majority of my life from high school to college. As far as things that I did as a kid, I was about 13. I didn't start playing sports really until I did play when I was younger. It's a little bit of football, basketball with the kids, friends, stuff like that. Nothing organized. And then one summer, my parents were like, "Hey, we got to get you out of the house. We run around and play video games everywhere. And playing video games, you got online gaming now. And I always kid with you guys when I talk about this, but our online gaming back then was the Nintendo and the phone. If you had a cordless phone, cool. And it was sitting right here and you playing. So that was online gaming then. So we did a lot of that, but they got me into baseball, got me into sports. And, at first when I started playing, was no good. I'm 13. These kids have started playing at 5. And was no good, but I just kept with it. Some of the guys I was playing with, they took me under their wings, showed me how to really play the game, and I started playing the game to the point I loved it. And it did take me to college, and it did take me to playing professional ball. So I did that for about 5, 6 years, 7 years, I believe. Playing professional ball, stopped playing, got tired of politics, and started looking at other things. Worked in corporate America. Always had side gigs because I had a lifestyle that I had to pay for it. I like nice things. I like to go out to eat. I like traveling. I like nice cars. So I did the hustle and the grind with having, other streams of income. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm ready to go back to school. And that's where my ex-wife now, she had come to bring me some information about a job. And of course I wanted, at that time they were doing, what is it called? Companies were leveraging your education by like tuition repayment, stuff like that, or they would pay for your school. So sure enough, she found something in the paper. It was for aircraft electrician. And I was like, okay, I like computers. I was always into computers. Didn't mind working around aviation. Talked about school, tuition, and bonuses and all this stuff. And she said, here's the catch. Said, it's the Navy. And I was like, hell no, not doing it. And lo and behold, I ended up had a Navy reservist that worked with me at my job. And I ended up telling her about it, answered some questions. She was like, hey, why don't you just, here are the things. She came back with some information the next day. So here's the boxes that need to be checked. Bonus, GI Bill, which is now post 9/11. Like I said, signing bonuses, school, all sorts of stuff. And she pretty much said, if they check all those boxes, what do you got to lose? So let's just say at this point, now that I served and I'm out of the Navy, that was the story on that. So that was a success story. Learned a lot. It built me up as a man because I needed to learn who I was, and what better place to do it than to have structure and to have people that can pretty much straighten you up, if you will. When you think you are straight, they can help straighten you up. But I learned a lot of leadership skills, teamwork. I realized that, from being in the military, I started working on my own cars, because working on aircraft at that time, you spend hours upon hours upside down in cockpits or, up in the wheel well working on the aircraft. And that led me to believe that if I can work on their billion-dollar aircraft, surely I can work on my little truck. And so that's what I started doing. So I got into working on my car, stuff like that. And that's kind of brought me to where I am today, where I work on my cars, my BMWs and things like that. So that's in a short synopsis, that's who I am.
Awesome, man, awesome. So one question, and I'm gonna leave with this, Rell, and then you can kind of sort of to jump in. So one of the biggest things I took out of your journey was being a professional athlete, which there's such a small percentage of people who are afforded the opportunity, right?
Correct.
So what was it in you that drove you enough to be willing to pivot? Because sometimes it's one thing to be Shannon Sharp and you get a gold jacket as a Hall of Fame NFL player, right? And now it's the perfect time to transition because you've reached your pinnacle. It seemed like you did some great things, but maybe it just got to a point where it burnt you out. What led you to be able to say, I'm doing something that most people alive can't do. I'm going to walk away from that and carve a whole different path? Like, what led you to being able to pull that off? Because from the outside looking in, it don't seem easy.
No, it wasn't. The journey wasn't. And again, like I said, when I started playing, I started late. But then I just, poured my heart into it once I saw myself getting better. And there was a love for it. So as far as what made me pivot, there's positive and negative. I'll start with the negative, because there's a piece of that I carry with me, that when I instruct kids and even other professional athletes, I harness that, because I allow for that to be a focal point of what I share with them. The negative aspect of leaving the game was that, well, man, maybe I'm not good enough to stay in the game. Maybe it is time for me to go do something else. Not really realizing that sometimes it's not just about your not being good enough. You're good enough. I'm here. They selected me. I'm here. We're playing. I'm still playing. I'm here. It's more so being willing to continue doing it if that's what you want to do. Now, aside from that little negative point that I was making, because that came up and I had to use that to be a point to make that pivot, because I did start looking at myself and looking at other things I could be doing. And I said, okay, it's not so much that I can't play. I can play. It's, I feel like I have a better purpose, because playing baseball was fun. I loved the game. I would play for free. You didn't have to pay me to play the game. I loved it. But it was no longer what I felt like God had me, the place that I felt like he had me to be at that point in time. I felt like there was somewhere else I needed to be. And if I continue to put all my focus here, then I'm going to miss that opportunity. And it's almost, fast forward to getting out of the military, and I know we'll probably hit on that a little bit more, but it's almost like, again, getting out of the military, it was looking at all the boxes I had checked, the goals I had going in, the boxes I had checked. There were no more boxes to check. It was time to go. And when God said move, hey, we picked it up, made our plan, and we're here now. So to be able to pivot out of something that a lot of people don't get an opportunity to do, just like the military, people that actually serve in the military is less than 1%. Period. Less than 1% people actually serve in the military. So I'm already in an elite group with that, as well as being able to get selected and actually play professional ball. I didn't get to the highest level in baseball, which is the MLB, which is the show, but a lot of people didn't go to the next level, period. Some people didn't even make it into college ball, let alone high school ball. So, but I do realize that my purpose wasn't being served continuing to play ball. So that was the reason for the pivot.
Understood. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, you good. You served time in the military. You served, how long were you actually in the military?
14 years. By the time the contract ended, 14 years.
Okay, so 14 years. Could you speak on how has military training, as well as time served in the military for over a decade, shape your way of thinking, shape your way of life, all in general?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in the military, that's not just a career, it's not just a job, it actually becomes a lifestyle.
Right.
So could you talk a little bit about that?
What I'll say is the biggest piece that military gave to me was discipline, integrity, and just hard work, just grinding. The Navy had core values: honor, courage, and commitment. And we talked about that a lot. That was brought up a lot in meetings, trainings, and all of that. What I took from that is, no matter what it is that you are doing, if you're not committed to it, if you're not able to do it when other people aren't seeing you do it, because that's what part of the grind is. Part of the grind is doing things that other people are not going to do, and also doing it when nobody's looking, because that builds up a habit, that builds up an instinct, a natural instinct that you'll be able to do the very said thing on your own that you were doing under the guidance of somebody that's in, corporate America or military, any of that. So the big takeaway from the military was definitely integrity and being committed to it, because there's a common goal that you have as a sailor, as a soldier, as an airman, Coast Guard, doesn't matter. The common goal is whatever that mission is. So, take for instance, if you are downrange, and by the way, people that don't know this, everybody in the military don't go fight wars. All right? I never set foot on foreign soil to fight a war physically. But just reeling that in, the common mission, if you've got a common mission as let's say a Navy SEAL, to go in, infiltrate somewhere to remove someone, or or whether to capture or to regain, maybe someone's held captive, you got a POW, to go in and infiltrate and get that person, bring them back home to American soil, there's tactics that are put in place to make that happen. So I'm just using that as an extreme. Forgive me, I've got sirens going on in the background. Oh man. Go on. All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Um, um, yeah, there's that common goal. You have to piece these pieces of the puzzle together to see how everything is going to map out and make that work. So the same thing with just my life. I had to be committed to what it was that I had a vision for. And the military had a place. It wasn't supposed to be long term. It was supposed to be that first enlistment, 5 years, get my GI Bill money and all that stuff, and get out and go to school. Just other opportunities kept coming up. Playing all Navy baseball in the military, that ended up becoming a professional thing. I was getting paid to play ball. I was traveling around the world to play baseball. So when opportunities like that came, I was like, man, this military thing is not that bad. So, but to transition to other things in the military and use that now, they talk about setting yourself up financially. They talk about what's called thrift savings plan, TSP. They talk about taking a portion of your paycheck and putting that aside every month. It automatically comes out. You don't have to do it. Just set a percentage of your base pay. And as you make rank, you can keep that percentage, you can increase that percentage, but just learn to live off what you have and put that money away. Those are some of the things that the military also helped me understand, is having emergency funds, having multiple second savings or checking accounts, business accounts, but more so than anything, making sure that you started putting money away, investing money. And the one thing I loved about TSP, it basically was an active way to put your money into stocks and EFTs. So your money grew based on what was going on in those EFTs and things like that. So it was great. I did learn more about that with other people that was really into investing, and those little nuggets they shared, I carried that with me. Can't say I would have learned that anywhere else without being at the right place at the right time. But overall, that's the big thing that the military did for me. It just gave me the opportunity to be committed to something that I do, make a plan, and follow through on that plan. And when nobody else is up, when it's dark out, everybody else is asleep, I'm still up here working, whether it's editing videos, whether it's writing out a new plan, or looking at the whiteboard that I have, looking to see what I need to check off, erase, and do other things. Or if it's not just, maybe just reading a book like we talked about already, reading. So those were the big things I took away from the military and how it has impacted me to this day.
Were you privy to any of that information prior to the military? Like as far as financial savings, budgeting?
No, I didn't learn that from my parents. I mean, we talked about, back in the day, of course, you had your checkbook and you balance your checkbook. So I did learn things about that. But as far as investing, no, knew nothing about it. I didn't even know about it as an athlete.
Well,
Makes sense. So, AB, the thing that, and I'm making a pure assumption getting to know you, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing that I get from you is across the military, and I'll, my next question will be military related, but across everything you've done, is the core belief is a supreme belief in yourself.
Definitely.
And I just wanted you to speak on that, because everything, in my opinion, we all can have skill sets and the ability to do anything. And God can have a path for us, and that, the whole 9 yards. But having that supreme belief in yourself to first off say, I pick up a game later than everyone else, but I'm still going to work hard enough to be on the same level with my peers who started earlier. I'm going to come into the military without a background of knowledge, where, in my career, I've met a lot of military guys that their family was like generations of military.
Right.
So they came in with such a wealth of knowledge, understanding, I want to work in this part of the military. I want to do this. I'm going to work my level to this particular rank. You, in your case, getting some information on the fly and saying, I'm jumping in with both feet. And then now fast forward to where you are, the main correlation is that I feel like, I'm sure you had a good support system, but the way it comes across is that if no one else was going to believe in you, you were willing to believe in you. Am I right in that, or am I off base?
You are definitely right. You're definitely right. The struggle there with believing in self, like I said, that negative part to get to transitioning from baseball, I had to realize I was always the hardest person on me. And I think anybody else could probably agree and say the same. Excuse me, if you are really holding yourself to a high standard, you are going to be the person that gets on yourself the most, not anybody else. And sometimes it's to the point that you're unfair in being real with what the outcome should be. Because sometimes we put such a high ceiling or a high standard on things that we should do. We're being a little unfair because, like, hold on, wait a minute. We needed to take steps. And that's why, sometimes being too aggressive with the goal, you got to be realistic. One of the other things we talked about with the military that I took away was when you set goals, you have that acronym called SMART. I'm sure you all have heard that, setting SMART goals. So SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And you've got to set a timetable on these things. You can have a goal to do something, but if it's just, hey, I want to learn a new language, let's say you're going to, maybe going to a destination wedding somewhere, whether it's France, Mexico, wherever. You want to learn the language. Well, if you say today I want to learn to speak Spanish, and you don't set a timeline, and now you're in Mexico at that destination wedding 6 months later, and you never set a timeline for learning it and learning what you could learn conversational Spanish in 5 months, then when you get there, you can't speak the language because you never set a timetable to do it. So just using that as an example, that was one of the things I took away from that, was you doing SMART goals. And yes, being realistic with yourself, that's your guide. Because yes, I am definitely believing in myself to do any and everything that I can do that I set my mind to doing, and I have done it, and I'm still doing it. But yeah, I'm regardless of my support system, yes, I believe wholeheartedly in myself that I can do whatever it is God has put me on this earth to do, and that's where it starts.
Man, you mentioned something about realistic goals.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this a little bit last night. Entrepreneurs, strong entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business owners, people who's goal orientated. We often reach for the skies, reach for the stars, reach for the moon. We set sometimes goals that may seem so far-fetched, because we really have that belief that we can do it, which is great. But on the flip side, it can hinder you because sometimes you can be over ambitious, which we both talked about, right? And we both shared moments in our lives where we were over ambitious about goals. Yeah, we still reach those goals,
right?
But maybe we set the goal that 3 years I'll be at this level, this will happen, that will happen. And then 3 years go by, you like, man, I did not know what I was getting myself into.
Right.
Not even halfway there because I need to meet this person. This needs to lines up to this. This needs to lines up to that.
Right.
And it'll have to be a miracle for me to pull this off. Granted, sometimes things like that can happen, but oftentimes reality kicks in.
Yep.
And yeah, you're still climbing up, but you're not just there yet because so many things have to happen because you didn't equate for it, or you didn't even have the knowledge that I didn't know I needed this piece, that piece, and this piece, and that piece to get to here. But could you speak a little bit about being over ambitious, and also about setting goals and reality goals?
Right. Man, that's I can go so many different ways with that question. I'll use 2 examples. And we talked last night, and I said, remember the 14-year plan. So we just talked about me being serving in the military. And I just mentioned that I planned on going in for that first enlistment and getting out.
Mm-hmm.
So that just would have been about 4 years, I think 5 tops, plus the 3 years to make 8 I want to say it's selected reserve, something to that effect. That's just part of the contract. You're not active duty, but you still got to go do, I forget what it's called, like your temporary duty and that kind of stuff on weekends. So that 4 or 5 years turned into 14 years. The boxes that I talked about checking, they didn't get checked until probably that 12th year, because I had financial goals, I had educational goals, and I had goals because at that point, after you hit about 10 years, it's a common theme that, hey, you done hit 10, you may as well finish the other 10. You halfway there. Go ahead and retire. I'm going to say this. There was 3 times that I had an opportunity to get out of the military. And I'm going to tie in why that's part of the 14-year goal. One was that first enlistment when I had played All Navy baseball. I was like, man, you know what? I need to just go back and finish playing ball. Just get out of the military, go to the Navy. Get out of the Navy, go back and pursue professional ball again. And something said, nah, to get out, to go back to that, then you're gonna backtrack on all the things you said you were coming in to do. So I stayed in. Next opportunity came. There's a thing called higher tenure. Now, let me hit on higher tenure in just a second. Because I was playing ball, I didn't take advancing serious. So that's going from E3 to E4 to E5 to E6. So your pay grade. So your pay grade is more money. I remember when somebody asked me, hey, are you going to take the advancement exam? I said, nah, next time. I'm young and dumb in the military. They was like, no, we weren't asking you if you wanted to. We're asking, are you up for it? Because you have to be in for so long, so much time at that pay grade to be able to take your first exam. So they were like, no, if you're supposed to take the exam, you take an exam. It's not optional. So I didn't know what the guys telling me, man, you want to make more money, you got to take the exam. So you got to take it serious. So with that said, I'm enjoying baseball. I'm not worried about advancing. So by the time I re-enlist, because I'm cross-training now to be a corpsman, because I thought about, okay, if I get out, what trade, what skill I want to have, because aviation ain't it. Aviation, they always going bankrupt and all sorts of stuff happening. Jet noise, jet fuel, that's not really my best friend right now. So cross-rated corpsman, which is a medic, for those that don't know. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to have a healthcare background. So when I get out, I'm going to do that. So by the time I started taking my career serious, I'm already 4 years in. So I'm losing time on making the next pay grade because I was busy playing baseball. So that was the reason why I didn't get out, because I was like, man, I done took for granted my time in to start advancing. So when I started taking it serious, then I started making the pay grade all the way up to E6 by the time I got out at a pretty fast pace because I started taking it serious. The second time that I was going to get out, that's where the higher tenure comes in. And that's why I was talking about taking it serious. I was going on 8 years and I hadn't hit, I think I was a third class or an E4. I hadn't hit E5 yet. So what happens is if you haven't made a certain pay grade at a certain time, they let you go. It's called higher tenure. You get some money. You get a severance package, but they let you go. You don't get an opportunity to retire. So like I said, by this time, I'm seriously considering retirement. And so now I'm taking things serious. Long story short, I did end up making the next pay grade. And because I did that out of being scared, I re-enlisted all the way out to 6 years, not knowing how that was going to affect me on trying to get out or other opportunities that came up. So before the third time to get out happened, there were other opportunities that came up because I started instructing baseball. I started doing it professionally. But because I was tied to the Navy, I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it a 9 to 5 because I had duty. My 9 to 5, or 24/7, really, my 9 to 5 was going to the clinic, working and doing my stuff as a pharmacy tech, which is what my specialty was. So finally we get to Texas. It's my last duty station. I walk in on a it's Thanksgiving week, I believe. I go to this I forget the name of the place now, but I went to this hitting facility, walked in and said, hey, you mind if I volunteer, do some stuff, help with the netting, help putting the balls away, that kind of stuff. All I wanted was just time to come in and hit because I was still playing ball. So he said, sure. Fast forward to several months of being there. He had a lesson. He had a group of kids. He had a lesson with this one kid. He said, hey, AB, go take care of this lesson for me. And his mom is going to pay you. And I was like, no, I don't want you to pay me. We good. So, because just the love for the game, I do it for free, like I said before. So, sure enough, 30 minutes was the session. The lady paid Johnny because I was hands off from that. So, we finished doing our stuff that night. He shook my hand, said, thank you. I felt he put some money in it. I just put it straight in my pocket. Didn't even think about it. So, I get home, taking the stuff out of my pocket. I see this bill, and I'm just like, man, that was like 30-minute session. This is too much money. I think he gave me the wrong bill. So, I called him up and said, hey, Johnny. I said, I think you just gave me too much money for that session. He was like, well, how much is it? I said, $50. He said, that's right. I said, okay, thanks. Hung up the phone, immediately started doing math. For the next, few months, I'm making an exit strategy because I'm like, I can instruct baseball, make six figures at a minimum, dedicating this much time to training athletes. All right, there we go. Check that box. So by the time God said it was time to go, I had started meeting people that I was networking with that was talking about investments. That's how I really got into doing more investments and got money, and now getting ready to start getting into real estate. I wouldn't have learned that stuff had I gotten out earlier. So not saying that God didn't put people in places during that timeline. Maybe I just wasn't looking. Like I said, I was playing ball. I probably could have learned that in the first 5 years. In fact, I probably could have learned it from that dude that was telling me about your thrift savings plan and how to set this stuff up and how to make more money putting in these type of funds versus just sitting it in the basic fund that was only giving you about 6%. Well, you got these other funds. Sorry about that. You got these other funds that are generating 26, 35% returns on your money. So again, I didn't learn it. I didn't take it into account until later. But that 14-year journey ended up being the best 14 years of my life because it set me up for the successes that I'm having now. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the journey. So those were some of the things I took from that. As far as being too ambitious, being too ambitious was that first 4 years trying to get out. I was trying to get out to do the very thing I left to get in the military to do, to check off all those boxes. And I was about to be over ambitious and miss out on those opportunities. Now, another point of being a little bit too ambitious was how much money I was trying to make. I had a set amount of millions that I was looking to hit in a short period of time, but there was going to be a lot of risk. I realized without making that mistake, because I had a buddy of mine talk to me. He was like, hey man, what is this whole $10 million idea or $10 million goal in this span of time? What is it for? What are you trying to achieve? It just was a number. It just was a number. And I realized all the stress that I had on myself trying to make that happen. There was a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights trying to make that happen. And I'm glad he spoke with me because then it put in perspective that I needed to adjust some things because things got to line up to make that happen. Just like you just said, Carshow Rell. Sometimes it's people that you meet, that you got to meet the right people, the right network. Sometimes it's the resources that you got to have. You don't have them all yet. And definitely resources, not just financially, resources as in, because you don't know every single thing. Before I started doing YouTube, when I got out, I started going to college to finish my degree in sport management and coaching. We had an assignment, a group assignment. This girl did the presentation for us. By the time she did it and the video was up, I was like, dang, that's it. That's what I want to learn how to do. Because I want to do that for YouTube, start my channel. Sure enough, now, I've got the skill sets to edit and publish videos and do all that stuff in photography. I've got the software and stuff for that. That's a resource. I didn't know I had connections to a lot of these resources because I was a student. and because I was a veteran. So had it not been for that journey, I wouldn't have locked in on all these resources to be able to do that. And being over ambitious put a lot of stress on me. So by the time I finally figured out, wait, you need the resources, which is a lot of times people, those connections, because like I just was leading into, you don't know it all. You know, running a company, wanting to have a company, you may or may not know how to run that company. I know how to be an athlete. I know how to instruct kids. You know, I know how to edit film. But if I don't know anything about how to run a business, then I probably need a partner that knows how to run a business. You know, I probably need some people that understands the legalities behind it. So, and the taxes. So you're gonna need a tax professional and an attorney and all that kind of stuff. You can't do all that stuff by yourself. So those were the things I learned by being over ambitious, trying to reach that goal. And I'm glad that I learned that without putting too much money into that and losing out on that. So yeah, that's what I could share on that journey.
Awesome. I want to make a statement on a point that you made, AB, and then I'll get into my next question. So you talked about funds, and you know, we're not investment advisors here,
Mm-hmm.
but for those who review this, I want to give them just a slight bit of clarity on that. So most of us, when we work jobs, whether if you got to be military or have certain kind of jobs to have a TSP or something like that, you may have a 401k. But when AB speaks about funds, these are investment funds where they're uploading certain investments into said fund. And the assumption, because those who came before us maybe not have known that they could adjust said investments or move them around or change
Mm-hmm.
funds,
Mm-hmm.
they just put money in it. And regardless of whatever market volatility that happened positively or negatively, the thought process was, well, at least I have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to capitalize on the moment that you said, because I think the lesson that needs to come from this is, if you have something, if you have any kind of mutual fund, a 401k, a TSP, you got to take the time to educate yourself, or at minimum seek out a professional, because you want to have a strategy that fits you.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this because in my corporate career, you know, towards the middle, I finally realized that I could do better managing my fund myself with investments that I was comfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
versus, you know, just my HR taking some money out of my paycheck and, you know, playing Russian roulette and hoping it goes well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to speak on that. The second part of this is, you know, so for my family, my pops was a Vietnam veteran and my uncle was. So I got military in my family and I have a good
Salute to him.
understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. And likewise, same to you and Rel as well for you guys'
Yeah.
service.
Appreciate you.
The one thing I want to ask you, because now you were a civilian, then you went into the military, you're out of the military now, but you're still, I feel like, you know, once you're in the military, you're never really completely a civilian again. But I think you have a good understanding of both sides of the game, and I want to ask you, in your opinion, do you believe someone that is not in the military, that does not join the military, can learn the same skill sets of being goal oriented, understanding what you want to do, having a plan? Because the thing about the benefit that you get separate from the money and the going to school, like you said, you get that infrastructure. So even if you come from an era or a neighborhood or you know, a town where the information is not readily available, you get it. But there's some people that may watch this that's like, I have absolutely no structure. I'm listening to this video because I see men that look like me that I reference, you know, just from a mentality perspective. I want to ask, do you think you can develop those skills without being in the military?
You most definitely can. One of the things that I did, probably in the latter part of the, I say 4 to 5 years I was in, I got into watching a lot of motivational speaking. So I started watching, of course, now I'm going to go blank, can't get names out. Les Brown is one of them. Oh my goodness, I can't even get all the names out. But if you watch motivational speaking, no, you're going to run across. Les Brown is definitely one you're going to run across. E.T., the hip hop preacher, Dr. Eric Thomas, that's one that I watched a lot. And reading books. So between reading self-help books, financial books on, financial goals, things that would, maybe mental health books, just anything motivational is what I started locking in on those last 4 or 5 years. And lo and behold, I ran into guys in the military that were doing the same thing. Because let me say this. In the military, there's a lot of negativity around you, unfortunately. Even though you got a common goal, some people are just out for themselves, and they will try to ruin your career, which I've had try to happen several times. And sometimes it's just being a strong-minded person that is very astute, very respectful, but don't let you run over them. And when people run into people like that, they have a problem, because that was my problem. I was a pretty chill guy, but I kept it 100. So if I need to tell you something, I told you. And that, I could do it respectfully, but I didn't sugarcoat stuff. Sorry for that sidebar. Just made me think about some of that stuff.
No. It's perfect.
Kind of recap some of that stuff, man. But because you're around all that negativity, it was great to find brothers that were thinking on the same wavelength as me about money and resources and real estate and things like that. They were getting it from doing the same thing. Now, granted, yes, the military does build you up with a foundation, but you got to take it upon yourself to keep that. And can you do it outside the military? Yes, you can. Like I said, watch the motivational videos, read books, get away from watching the news. When the missus try to turn the news on, I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Right.
Get away from all that negative stuff that you're watching. Yeah, YouTube can be entertaining, Netflix can be entertaining, Instagram, all that stuff can be entertaining. But if you constantly polluting your brain, your mind with that stuff, how can you set goals to go do anything? And then at that point, it's not about the people that are around you, per se. It is, but it's what you're feeding yourself. So anyone out there that think you can't have structure, that think you can't learn to be business savvy, can't learn to invest your money and not just let it sit in the bank for the bank to use to leverage your money, to give loans and all that stuff that they do, even invest in stocks, because they do that with your money. And your money is making pennies instead of sitting somewhere else growing or investing into something. There's nothing wrong with being a consumer, and I already talked about I like nice things, but there's a time and a place that I allow for my money to make money, and I use that money to go buy stuff, not just my hard-earned cash that just comes in from direct deposit and just go start spending. Now, I take care of my bills, I do that kind of stuff, and I start investing that money and just sit it and let it do its thing. So yeah, you can learn how to do that. You got to set yourself up by just get a loan, get by yourself. Of course, I love that sound, but I don't need it right now. But get a loan, take some time, get a loan, get by yourself, and just start find your self-help book. Find somebody you want to watch on YouTube. You don't need to watch 5 million people. Just find somebody you kind of gravitate to and watch them and learn from those guys. And definitely get on here and watch these guys right here on Network Is Your Net Worth, because that's the only way you're going to do it. You got to have the substance around you to be able to do that. So yeah, you most definitely can do it, but you have to invest in yourself to make that happen. It's not just going to happen organically. Somebody just going to throw it your way and you're going to catch it, and now you got the knowledge. You got to do it.
That's a fact. Well, two things real quick. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you. So once again, A.B hit another great point. I just want to touch on it because our goal is always education. To the point of what you talked about, a lot of people don't understand that banks lend off of deposits. So if I have $1 million in the bank and it just sits there for years and doesn't accrue interest, that allows the bank to lend off of it. And truth be told, that money is only insured in most cases up to $250,000.
$250K. Yep.
So I'm really not even completely protected. So that goes to your point about moving money around. I think the second point I wanted to make was in terms of books as well. When you're finding content that you like, take the content for what it is. You may
Mm-hmm.
find someone you love and they may have one video or one book that just doesn't resonate with you. That doesn't mean you need to dead the content provider.
Right.
Take from it
Right.
the jewels that you can get and use it to manifest in your own journey. Because if we all reading the same book, we're gonna get three different things from it that are beneficial for us. And I think a lot of times we'll listen to A.B say, check out Les Brown, or, I love Napoleon Hill books, or whoever else.
Right.
And then you read 2 minutes of it and you like, man, I can't get with this. Don't read it from my lens.
Right.
Read it from your own lens and take what you can take from it.
Yep.
But go ahead, Rel. Turn.
Glad you said Napoleon Hill. That was one of the books I was trying to think of. Think and Grow Rich. I meant to grab some books because I wanted to share some books with people, share with people that what I have read and how it helped me. So if I get an opportunity, I'll run in there and grab it. Just a few of the books that I've read.
Well, what we'll do too is that when we get offline, if you got a list of books you like, when we share the video and stuff like that, we'll kind of put there like a reading list for folks so they can kind of sort of see. But no, I mean, I think that's a great point. Reading, and my last thing I'm going to say, Rel, and it's all yours. Also, I don't mind reading, but I got a busy life myself. I spend my time in the car.
Oh, yeah.
You can get an Audible membership.
Yep.
Very inexpensive. And especially if you love cars, if you're working on your cars, you have stuff you're doing in the downtime, you can turn on a book in Audible.
Yep.
And really put you in a zone or a mind frame to get to where you need to be. Because I think sometimes we don't reach our goals because not only are we cluttered with what we have going on, but we have our significant others, friends, family, who all will rely on your individual guidance. And having that moment to zone in on something will click in your plan. So get the information how you can.
Yeah.
Rel, I'll turn it over to you, my guy.
Man, y'all said a handful, man. Wow. Just to piggyback really off of what you guys said, the books, the knowledge. Unfortunately, I didn't get the knowledge until I was in my mid to late 20s. My boy dropped a book on me, and I wasn't even a book reader at the time. But the first book he dropped on me, he said, "Man, bro, look, read it." I had just lost my job. I was in transition to becoming a father. He dropped on me the Napoleon Hill.
Yep, there it is.
And this book,
yes, sir,
planted seeds, into my life as far as mindset. Always was a goal-oriented person. Always had strong ambition to manifest things. But the book gave me like, oh, okay, it's structured to why you do what you're doing. And while we dropping books, I'll tell guys another book that you can tap into. And it is getting. This is another book about learning how to manifest and everything like that. The Magic of Believing. I don't know if anybody read this, but this is another great book. And again, I'm just doing this because you guys, you said you wish you had some books in front of you. Yeah. I'm like, cool. So if somebody's listening, they can check out the book. And of course, my guy gave me this book at least about 5 years ago. I read like the first 2 pages, and hey Jeff, what's up? I read the first couple pages, and it couldn't resonate for where I was at the time. I was more so on some, Les Brown, Earl Nightingale, Grant Cardone, Jim Rohn. I was more of like, people giving that inspiration, they get motivation. But my guy Jay Hall dropped this book on me called Building Wealth. And it was about it's about building wealth, but it's a great book that has real estate involved into it. So I know you
Okay.
mentioned, real estate. Um, at the time, I was more so focused on me and building
Mm-hmm.
my main business, right?
Gotcha.
But as my main business started to pick up legs and started to grow on its own, then you just is ready. You get in the point where, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what can I take from this to pour into this and let that grow, and then pour into
Mm-hmm.
that and let that grow, so I can have multiple streams. And the next stream
Right.
for me was real estate. So looking over books, sometimes I get down and I'm like, okay, what can I read? Because I like to listen to audios, but sometimes when you listen to audios, it might go in one ear and out the other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you hear one thing and it catch your ear and you're like, okay, what was that? Let me
Mm-hmm.
rewind that. But when I really want to get in the zone, I crack open the book. I might read like a chapter or two. But I was like, okay, real estate. We now get diving heavily into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, my guy Jay gave me a book. I need to find that book. Boom, I found the book, read it, and I was like, man, I was missing out on it. However, I'm glad I got it at the time that I did, because back then I was just focused on building my venture.
Right.
I read through it, I would have been like, it was an okay book, and just left it off to the side. But it came at the right time, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely appreciate you dropping that book. Again, Building Wealth by Russ Whitney. You guys check that out if you into real estate. Want to get into either flipping properties,
Right.
buying homes,
Mm-hmm.
all of that fun stuff. My next question to you, AB, and we're running up on pretty much on time here. Man, you had a lot going on as far as doing both at the same time, and it seemed like it was working for you, as
Mm-hmm.
far as your baseball career and also the military career. Not often do I hear an easy transition out
Mm-hmm.
of the military to the civilian world. A lot of people are like, man, I'm a veteran, but it's hard for me to find a career. Or, I'm a veteran, I got to start all over, in the civilian world. For you, was it relatively easy as far as your transition? And
Well, it
what was it,
was.
the baseball training, and you worked in corporate America before and you didn't come
Mm-hmm.
right out of high school, so you
Right.
kind of already was an adult. Like, could you talk about that just a bit?
Sure, sure. That was a blessing not coming in the military right out of high school. My dad wanted me to join immediately. I remember going to the, I think we had a recruiter, a Marine recruiter. And I remember going, taking ASVAB and stuff like that. And I thought one day, I was like, man, I'm not even doing this for me. I'm doing it for my dad. I want to play ball. So I told those guys, see ya. I'm going to go play ball. I'm going to college. So, going to college, playing ball, working in corporate America, all those different things, it all gave me structure at that time and place. And then joining the military and allowing for it to help me to blossom into the man I became and to give me all those gems, especially as I got later in the career and decided to transition. Again, much like going into the military, I went in the military with goals. I went in the military with boxes that I wanted to check so that I could get out. So at that 4 or 5 year mark, I hadn't checked those boxes, therefore I didn't get out, although I wanted to. By the time the 12th year hit, and I've got an outlook of, hey, I can make money doing X, Y, Z, and make good money doing it, then I don't need to waste any more time in the military trying to get to 20 years to retire. If you're not an officer in the military, not saying you don't make any money, but if you retire out as an officer, you're making some very good money. Some very good mailbox money is coming your way. Vice being enlisted. So again, no shots fired at retiring as enlisted. I'm just saying my goals for the type of money I wanted coming in, I would have had to be an officer, and I've thought about that several times. So by this time, I'm looking at the timeline is about 7 years to retire out. I'm like, well, what I need to do to be making the money, because if I retire out after 7 years, that little bit of money coming in ain't doing nothing. I'm still gonna have to work. So I made a plan, like I said, coming in the military for boxes to check. As I was looking to get out, I was like, okay, here's the things I need to line up and do as I transition out. Going to school was one of them. And guess what? They were going to pay me to go to school. So I got an allowance while I was in school. I had because I did do my compensation package and stuff like that. So I do have a disability rating where I have money coming in from that too. So not only am I getting paid from the VA, I'm getting paid from the VA for school. I got my other streams of income coming in. I'm like, you know what? I think this plan is going to work. Now, mind you, all that stuff don't start happening as soon as you get out. You got to transition out. Other things have got to happen. I needed to get in school, and if I wasn't grinding to get up to the school and do my application and give them the stuff they needed from the military and all this sorts of stuff, and if I missed going to school that fall, because that's really how it worked out. I got out in June. School was going to start, I want to say in August or September, one of the two. If I missed that boat, then those streams of income weren't going to come in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a little bit of stress there, transitioning out. But the fact that I had a plan to transition out, I just didn't get out on the whim of, I'm tired of the Navy, I'm getting out with no plan. Those, unfortunately, sometimes those are the guys that get out and fall flat on their face because they had no plan. They were mad. Somebody pissed them off. They got out, had no plan. Maybe they planned to go to school, but they missed the mark on going to school. Didn't get their old transcripts, turned in, and now, you get what I'm saying? So they're homeless or any number of things. So, yeah, I've heard guys get out and have a tough time transitioning financially because of mental mistakes, mental breakdowns that they have to do that. And then sometimes just chips were stacked up against them when they get out. So they had a difficult time transitioning. But for me, I'd say it was relatively an easy one because of the game plan that was set to get out. Not saying it wasn't stressful. I definitely had stress. But I'm glad that we made the sheet full of goals, the things that we needed, the boxes we needed to check in order to transition. Because when I had that conversation with Sharon, she had some questions. She was just like, man, this is a lifestyle we're used to. I'm not worried about a paycheck that's coming in. It comes in automatically. So, and then other things I was doing. So it kind of was like, not sure how this is going to work. But when we talked it through, I had to show her a plan. I had to show her the things I was going to be doing. What was going to bring in this money? Because this was going to interrupt us going out to eat. It was going to interrupt her being able to go get bags. It was going to interrupt a lot of stuff. So, and I when I saw it from her viewpoint, I was like, you know what? I've got to come up with a game plan and be able to show how I'm going to execute that game plan in order for me to really have the opportunity to get out and not fight about getting out. So, yeah, once I did that, we executed on that. And, yeah, the transition was pretty smooth. Like I said, a little stressful, but definitely pretty smooth. But that was because we made a game plan to get out. And like I said, going in, there was a game plan going in. So, yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome. I mean, AB, I'm so glad, man. I told you yesterday, but I really appreciate you even coming on and sharing your story. And we're going to, as we build this thing and advance it, I want to have you come back again and delve a little bit deeper into some things and have some dialogue with you because your journey is specific to you, but you spoke a lot of things that are applicable to any person from any walk of life that's just trying to obtain a level of comfortability in their lives. Everything you spoke about is attainable. Not social media attainable, but like you can go out tomorrow and do it.
Yeah.
And this entire platform is built off of us showing folks that, number one, you can be transparent in your journey and make it and not lie. But then the opposite end of it is showing that whatever you want to do is a little bit closer to you than you might think. So I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing. Your whole aura and energy is genuine, man.
I appreciate you, man.
And I look forward to tuning in to your platform, man, and coming in there and and soaking up some of the game and stuff that you pass on, whether it's car related or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, peace again. Rel, what's your thoughts in closing out, my guy?
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that.
In about a couple weeks, I got reached out to, via DM. Once I posted the Ross book, I don't have it in front of me, it's upstairs. And we talked to this gentleman via DM, and he's about books, just like I'm about books, just like us two are about books. And I seen one of his most recent posts was Think and Grow Rich, and I commented on it. He's like, man, I would love to come on, live with y'all and talk about that book and many others, and just have a conversation about books, inspiration, how to get motivated, like not really personal journeys, but things that we picked up along the way in audios. So we're gonna be live with two individuals. I'm not gonna release their information yet, but you guys will see the flyers. It's gonna be probably either the end of this month or June.
Okay.
But definitely invite you to come back and at least be involved, in the chat with us, because this is something that we all feel strong about. So if you could bring your energy and your expertise, we'd love to have you part of there. But before I just give my last remarks and close it out, I want to leave the floor with you to give me last tips, gems, that you can leave for even us two. We're still growing, we're still trying to grow. We both don't know everything, but what can you leave for all of us, as far as coming from you and your journey, that someone can take and put it in their artillery to help them out in their journey?
I'll say this: be real with yourself. We talked about that earlier. Just be real with who you are. Figure out what your role in life is, and go from there. Because I'll say this: when you're looking up to other people, you may be misguided and being unreal with yourself because you put them on a pedestal. Funny thing, when we talked last night, I shared with you a story about this young girl when I read her book, high school classmate. She actually she was tapped in on live with the Street Trapper last night, Donnie Wiggins. And her story, she's doing well. And I remember watching her grow, but I never knew the stumbles that she had. And in reading, when I read her book, I bought her book, and in reading her book, she told me about the challenges that she had in '08. '08, the market crash. Everything that I saw of her was just what I saw of her. And I'm looking down on myself like, man, what, my fellow classmate is just shooting to the moon. What am I doing? Not knowing her struggles, not knowing her challenges, not knowing anything about what she went through. So for anyone watching this, when you go look at, if you got friends that's elevating their game or whatever it is they're doing, be real with yourself and know it didn't happen overnight. My journey didn't happen overnight. I had plenty of struggles, plenty of setbacks, because anything you see with me now is just now, but I gained all of that by way of learning lessons on the journey. So I leave with you to be real and understand that what you see, it may be real, when you see somebody's journey you're looking up to or listening for those gems or reading books. But be real with yourself and know that it's going to take time to get there. Don't be over anxious, over ambitious. Like we said earlier, we're trying to make something happen in 3 to 5 years, or maybe even a few weeks to a year, when it's going to take 10 years. For me, my journey took 14 years. Everything that happened prior to that, but once I joined the military and everything that happened for me, that was a 14-year journey. And that's why I call it that 14-year journey, that 14-year lesson, because where I am now was harnessed in those 14 years. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, you got to be realistic with yourself and allow for yourself to have time. You got to go at it. You got to go at it daily. You got to be dedicated, and you got to have integrity to grind when nobody else is watching.
Man, give you where can people find you at? Shout out all your platforms: YouTube,
Sure,
Facebook.
sure. Well, if I didn't really mention it earlier, I do a lot of car stuff, videos, photography, and stuff like that. So on here, of course, is Opulent M3 or Opulent M3. You can find me here. I've got some other links for other accounts. A.B _Wright with the W _ visuals with 2 Z's. That's where you can see all of my like my cinematic videos and photography, car photography, stuff like that. I also have Euro Auto Enthusiast, which is on YouTube and TikTok. I do a lot of DIY stuff on my BMWs. I do BMW content. We go to car meets and races and all sorts of stuff. So if you're into car stuff, you'll find us there. Also probably going to dabble in a little bit. Well, not dabble. I think we're really going to get more into maybe a family style channel, whether that be on Your Auto Enthusiast or a new one. So I'll definitely put that out for you guys to see. But that's pretty much where you can find me. Your Auto Enthusiast is on Facebook as well. I don't do a lot on Facebook right now. Kind of pull back from Facebook for the last few years, actually. So trying to get content up there for people to see on there. But yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. If you like, one more platform on Instagram is EAE _HQ. So that's basically Your Auto Enthusiast headquarters. That's where you see all the luxury stuff. So I like a lot of luxury cars, fast cars. So all of my photos, anything from Paganis to Koenigseggs to Lamborghinis, Ferraris, you'll see all that stuff. And these are real pictures that I have taken personally of these cars. So you'll see stuff on that channel as well. That's what I got. Appreciate that.
And any last remarks, Jay Hall, before I close it out? Unmute, fam.
Oh, I'm sorry. Great episode again, AB, man. I appreciate you for coming on. I can't wait for it to come up and be able to share it a little bit more with the masses.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate you. Salute to both of you, man. I appreciate you. I'm humbled to even be on here. So thanks for reaching out to allow for me to share my journey.
Yes,
we
certainly. That's our time today, guys. Be sure to tune in. We're live every week, 7 p.m. Network is my network. Man, great one for the books. As I always say, stay positive, stay motivated. See you on the next one. Salute.
Peace, salute. Appreciate you.